look closely at this grid. You'll probably be able to see that there's a heart within the grid. This is called the grid heart op art drawing. To make it, you'll need a blank paper, ruler, pencil, and a scrap paper with some scissors. The scrap paper is for making a heart to trace, so you can make it really big. Begin by folding it in half, then look for the closed part of the fold. Not open, but the closed part, and start your scissors there by cutting upward diagonally and then rounding it out for the top of the heart and then cutting downward diagonally. When you open it up, you'll have a heart that's the same on both sides. There's that diagonal. Okay, so next we're going to use our ruler, and this is just to make straight lines. To make a grid, make about 5 or 6 lines across your paper. Make sure that they are parallel. Parallel means they are equally spaced. I like to rotate the paper because my hand gets pretty comfortable drawing in the same motion when I'm using a ruler. Sometimes using a ruler can be kind of awkward, so just turn the paper and you won't have to move your arm all around. Check that the boxes look even. That last row looks kind of big, so I added an extra line. Then center your heart within the grid and just draw around it or trace so that it's really big. The tiny spaces are very important, so as you draw, you'll start to notice them. It's those tiny spaces created by drawing through the grid that later make your heart stand out when you add color. So we're going to look very closely for those tiny spaces, and we are going to simply color every other shape. Remember, there's new shapes created by drawing through the grid. Think of one row at a time, or one column at a time. I blocked off the paper just so we could focus on one row. Use a pencil to make a dot, and then mark every other shape. See how those tiny shapes are very important? When you color, your first row might look something like that. Now when you're in the second row, try to do the opposite of what's above. So that one's got to stay white, but the little one's purple. And then just continue across and check each time that side by side is opposite and above and below is opposite. And those tiny, tiny spaces matter, okay? All right, here's some tips for coloring. It's helpful to outline the shape before you color. This is just a nice way to get it ready so that you don't go outside the line. I forgot to dot it, so I added dots real quick. So that looks like I'm outlining now. Like I just do the edges, and then I try to color in one motion and just fill it in neatly. Sometimes I rotate the paper because it gives my hand a break so that I'm not always coloring in the same way. And I just recommend one color plus white for this. Okay, let's try to keep looking closely at the pattern of every other, okay? So on the next row, you can see I'm about to make dots, and I'm thinking about doing the opposite. Looks like I sped it up there. I must have forgot to take a picture in between the 4th and 5th row, but I'm finishing out by making all the dots. I'm always thinking opposite. Here's a close-up of what it looks like as we color. The tiny shape matters. I hope you enjoyed this challenging op art heart grid.